Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this new episode of our series, the Keys to Design Your HMI. I'm Francois Flech from the marketing department, and today I'm with Enzo Palomba. Hello, Enzo. Can you hear us?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Francois.
Hi, Enzo. So today we'll cover the graphical tools. So let's start. Just to remind you, this series has 4 episodes. This is the third one, and we'll have a last one for animation. And today we're gonna cover many aspects of the graphical tools. Most of it are known, but for some others, it's not so obvious. So the drawing properties manager first, the layers, what we call the decluttering, indexed colors, controls, and also the languages. So first, the drawing properties manager. So what is this tool? It's a tool very interesting because this tool allows you to apply a specific format to a set of objects on your graphic interface. There's several modes. The global mode is to define initial settings of your object. It means that when you create a new object, you will have some properties, and you can set those properties from these tools. It's also possible to modify and change the properties of a selection of object in your mimic. You can apply a reference set of properties for a bunch of objects as well. And it's also possible to create some templates for object as well. So this tool can be very useful, especially if you have many objects to create and to use in your mimic. So the best is to see how it works, and for that I will give the lead to Enzo, which is done.
Okay, I will share my screen. So let me know if you can display my screen correctly.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so as Francois said, we have our drawing property manager that is, you can access it from your display tab and go into your display drawing property manager. So if we insert some objects, some PcVue objects, as you can see, as soon as we insert some objects, we display the different properties of our object. If I insert, for example, a text, and I display the property of the text. So this is the reference setting. As you can see, if I click on one object, I change the properties, and the properties are directly applied. For example, in this text, as you can see, I can change the color. Okay, so the other property that we were talking about was the global property option. This property specifies whether you want to use default properties for your different objects. For example, here for my text, I want to have a specific font and a specific color when I want to insert my text. The same thing for my object. For example, if I insert a new object, as you can see, I have my global setting applied, so my default property applied, and if I insert my text, I can see that the default property is applied once again. So the third option here is selection. So it will define properties well, from the object selected in your project. In our case, for example, here for text, if I select the 3 text, I can change the properties here in one click. For example, here for the color, I can apply it to all my text. For the reference part, I also can define one object as a reference. For example, if this object is blue and I want to change all my objects regarding a property of this text, the last text selected or the last object selected define the reference. So if I change it here, I can apply here. And then I need to apply to all regarding the reference. So my reference is applied to all my objects. Last thing is the template thing that you can create. So we can create a template to apply to all our objects. In this case, if we want to choose another color for our graphical objects and another font, for example, and another color for my text. I save it, and then if I choose my template here and I select my objects and I do apply all, I will apply my template defined. So that's all for the presentation of the Drawing Properties Manager. Thanks.
Thank you, Enzo. I take back the screen. So let me share back my screen and move forward to another feature in terms of graphical tools, the layers. Obviously, I think that many people know what is a layer. It's the fact that we can create several layers for a mimic, and on each those layers we can associate graphical object. So by default in PcVue, any object is associated to all layers of a mimic. And as you can see on this screenshot on the right, at the bottom, you have the layers, and you have 16 layers, and you can associate one layer or many layers to the object. So when you associate an object to a specific layer, it allows to hide or show this object on this mimic, depending on the layer you allow for the mimic as well. So this can be very useful. And with this layer feature, we also have a feature called decluttering, which is basically the possibility to associate a visibility of an object to a level of zoom. So you can do it for one object in its properties, and for a specific layer on a mimic using templates. Okay, so on the right here, you see that there's a text properties, and on the text properties, you can select and set the visibility of this object depending on the zoom level. And here on the left, you can create a template defining for each layer the zoom setting to see the object on this specific layer. So this is very useful when you want to allow the operator, for example, to zoom in a specific zone, and then when you zoom, you display specific graphic element associated to a specific zone, for example. So Enzo is going to show you how does that work. So let me give you the the hand again. Here we go.
Okay, let's go. So is my screen again visible?
Yeah, we see.
Okay.
Yeah, we see your screen.
So for this demonstration regarding layers and decluttering, I will be using the demo project of PcVue. Okay, so first of all, as you can see here, we have a small example of different objects that are on different layers. So if I go on edition mode and I open object, I can see that a specific layer is applied for this object. So if I go back to runtime mode and I filter regarding my layers, as you can see, when one layer is selected, I can display the corresponding object that are on this layer. For example, for this object, if I can select 1, 2, and 4, I can display all objects on 1, on 3, and the objects that got both layers. So the next step is decluttering. As François explained, decluttering is the link between the layers in PcVue and the zoom level. So to configure a template for your decluttering, you need to go to the Configure tab, Preferences, and Decluttering. So we will create a new template. And for the layer 1, we will show it for a specific zoom level. For example, from 0 to 100 level. Okay. Okay. So to apply this decluttering template, you need to go to your Windows property settings. So the typical thing that can happen is that the decluttering can't be selected. Why is happening? Because sometimes you have template properties that are inherited into your Mimic. So you need to untick the decluttering property that is inherited from your template and go back to the display tab of your Mimic. And then you will be able to select the template. If I click on OK, my decluttering is applied, and if I go and zoom on my application, you can see I switch to a zoom level that is higher than 100, and all my objects that are on layer 1 are not displayed anymore when my zoom level is higher. So that's it for the layers and decluttering.
Thank you, Enzo. Go back to my screen and we're gonna see another interesting features for graphics, which is the indexed colors. So by default, you have the color palette. I would say the standard colored palette. So basically, when you select a color from this palette and you apply it to an object, the object has this color, and there's no link between the color of the object and the palette itself. But there's also a second type of palette, color palette, that we call indexed color palette. And this color palette is specific in the sense that if you apply an indexed color to an object, and then if you change the color itself in the palette, in the indexed color palette, all the objects using this color will be changed as well. So if you turn blue into a light blue in the indexed color palette, which is possible, you can change the color in the palette, then every object using this blue will turn in light blue. So this is very interesting, and it's a good way to save time when you have to change some color for many objects. And another graphic tools is the form that we provide in PcVue. As you can see, there's many built-in form control, combo box, list box, checkbox, all the standard control we can expect in software platform for monitoring control. We have it in as a standard and built-in, and with some possibility to set those controls. So Enzo will show you that. Enzo, I give you the control again, and that's it.
So yes. So again, we are going to display and explain it with the demo project of PcVue. So first of all, we're going to start with the part of the color palette. So as François explained, you can access to your color palette going to the display tab and select your color palette. Here on the top, you have the basic color, the standard colors that don't change, that are not dynamic, and on the other below here, you have the colors that are dynamic. So, for example, for the basic color, if you double click on your color palette, you can choose your color and you can choose the different filling modes available. If we come back to our dynamic color palette, if I switch in edition mode and I click on this shape, as you can see, the dynamic color palette is referenced with this small indication here that indicates that it's a dynamic color. If I click on it, I access to my color that is here. So here I can open it. I open my color palette. So here my color is selected because it's dynamic. So if I want to change my color and apply it to another object, I click on OK, and I click here, and I need to change here my dynamic color. So if this color is changed now to yellow, normally if this color is the dynamic one, sorry for that, not selected correctly, so I'm going to do it again. If this color, both objects are selected with the dynamic color, if I change it to another color, I apply it, as you can see, both objects were linked to the dynamic color and allows me to change the colors of both objects on one click. Okay, so next thing to display is the control part here that are available on PcVue. So as François said, we have all the option buttons. Okay, so if you select here, we display the content. We have the combo box here. We have all the checkbox, and the last tick is the one that is displaying the selected text. We have the list box, and we have the tree view. The most important thing about the tree view is that you can link into your content. You can apply directly PcVue animation. In our case, for example, here we have a link open animation that allows us to open a mimic. So if I switch back to runtime and I go to introduction to our solution, I open directly from our tree view the corresponding mimic. So that's all for the form controls and the color palette.
Thank you, Enzo. Take back the role. Important thing when you say that you use the demo project, it's important to mention that this demo project comes with PcVue. When you install PcVue, you have access to this demo project. So if you want to take a look, you can with your PcVue. So it's something that you can do. Okay, the last part of our session today is about the languages and especially how we can display and handle the languages. So in PcVue you have to distinguish two things: the configuration environment, which is the menus, dialog box, and all the configuration dialog box. And for this configuration environment, you can display two languages among the 12 installation languages. So when you install PcVue, you can select one among 12 languages. You can see the list here. And when you run PcVue, then you can display the menus in the language of the installation plus another one. So you have two languages for displaying configuration environment. The second things to take into account when we talk about languages is the text displayed in the graphics and mimics in your project. And in this case, you can also display two languages with the possibility to switch from one to another in a runtime. And it's in this case, it's any languages. It means you are not limited to the installation languages. Okay, because basically the language you display will only depend on what you write in the text of your animation or in your graphics. Okay, so two languages among the 12 installation languages for configuration environment, and then you can switch from one to another for the menus, for example, and also two possible languages for text in graphics and mimics among any languages you may need. To help to translate and to handle the languages in PcVue, there is a translation import export tool, which basically allows to export the text you have in your project. You can export it into a file, then work on the file, for example, to translate all the text strings into another language for mimics templates or symbols. And then the tool allows you to import back to the project the translation file. So this could be very convenient when you have many mimics, many objects, and it's obviously much more convenient to do the translation from a file than from the mimic itself or the object itself. So you can save time for that. And it's also important to mention here that the translation can also be done for a specific mimic. So from a specific mimic, you can translate only object or text of object of this mimic. And from the tools, the translation import export tools, you can also select if you want only translate mimics template, symbols, or all. And if you want to translate object from a specific library. Okay, so it's very flexible, and it can dramatically reduce the time of translation and languages for the project. And Enzo is going to show you how you can handle that. Okay, it's okay. You can take the lead.
Okay. So is my screen still displayed correctly?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So here, the main thing here is to talk about the bilingual language and the way how to translate through the exporting the file, translation file. So first of all, I'm going to insert a text, okay, my text in English, okay. So here I have my text displayed in English. So now I want to have in the same mimic my text displayed in English and to change it and display another language in my project. So first of all, I have to go to my project settings and I have to select my languages and enable the bilingual text settings. I have to change my configuration so I can manage two languages, two different configurations. And in my settings, for configuration one is the default one that the language that you selected during your installation. And for the second configuration, I have to select another language. In my case, I will select French. I will click on apply and OK. So if I go to my configure tab and I switch to the other language, in this case French, as you can see, my text object doesn't display anything because in this language nothing was typed. So I'm going to edit my object and I'm going to type in French. Okay. Another cool feature is to switch in runtime mode between those two languages. So I will add a small button and I will go to my language animation. I will select the toggle one and I will click on OK. So as you can see, if I go back to my English text and here if I type, I click on my button, I can toggle the language directly on runtime mode. Okay, so next step is to add the configuration, the translation file to export it and to import it again. Because here, as you've seen, I edited my object, but I only had one object. Imagine I have a lot of objects, it will be time consuming to edit one by one my object. So I can do it with a file. So for that, I'm going to add different texts, my text one, 4 times. So I've got 4 texts. So we can see it on our file. Once our objects are created, as you can see, if I switch on runtime mode and I switch in French, all my texts are empty. So I don't want to edit my objects and type it again. So I just will go to my import export feature. So what I do, I go to my translation and import export. Here, what I want to export is this mimic. So I go to my local library because this mimic is saved in my local library and I choose mimics. In here, I will select the file, the name of the file I want to export to. So the basic directory, it would be the TP of folder and I will call my file tr. I will select open and it will display the directory. So tr, and what are the languages I want to translate? My base language here is English and I want to translate it to French. I click on save, I click on close, and then I go to my window tab properties and export. my export is finished. So now I can open my Excel editor to edit this file. So I will go to my TV folder of my project, and I will browse for my file that I've just exported. I click on Open. I just choose the corresponding formats. Next, my separator is a comma. Next, text, and I select all the columns so I can import it. As you can see here, I have two languages, the base language and the translation language. You can see I have here my Mimic title, my object with my text that I typed previously, and my text 1, 2, 3, 4. And here it's empty. So I just need to type here the text I want in my destination language, and my translation would be done. So now I have to save this file. I need to save it on the TP folder, and I will save it with the CSV DOS format. I will save it with the same name, and it will ask me if I want to replace it. I say yes, okay, and then I can quit my Excel. So now what I have to do is to import this file that I've just edited. So I go to my Window tab and I click on Import. So I have a message that my import is finished. And normally, if everything went okay, if I switch to my French, I get all my translation that I've just added on my Excel file. Other things that you can do on this import-export tool is you can translate full libraries and different objects of PcVue as symbols and Mimic templates. Another thing that you can configure on your project settings in the language sections is your default language when you start up a project. So that's all for the language and the translation part.
Thank you, Enzo. We have a question. So this is the end of the session, and maybe you can keep the screen, Enzo, because we have a question regarding the Drawing Properties Manager. The question is, can we change Drawing Properties Manager for bilingual also? So I'm not sure about the question. Maybe the question is that can we have the Drawing Properties Manager in another language, or can we change language properties from the Drawing Property Manager?
No, to answer the question, the property manager now it's in the English because I toggle my project to English language. Okay, but when you select your objects, as you can see, we can only modify the properties of the objects, not the content of the objects. In this case, for the text object, I can't only modify all the properties, background, font, but the content of the object can't be modified with the drawing properties. So you won't be able to change the language when toggling to the other language because you won't be able to edit the content of your object. I don't know if that answers the question. I hope so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Enzo. So as I said, this is the end of this session. If you have any question, please feel free to ask in the chat or question and answer section. So I see another question here. Can I see how much space will take the text if I change language? Can I see how much space will take the text if I change language? I guess the length of the text on the graphic, if you change it from the file, how it will look in your Mimic. I think that's the question. Yeah, what you can take this, Enzo. We want to answer or?
Yeah, sure. The length the value, the specific value of the length of the object of the display, you won't be able to change it directly on the file. What is good to do, the best way to do it is to have it, to test it on one object and toggle the other language to see how it is filled. Normally, you can't see it in advance because the text is contained in this object, in this text object. So you need to give it a specific size at the beginning. So it's better to have a larger size or to check it with just one object, toggle the different languages and see if it fits correctly.
Okay. So we have another question, but this is a very specific question. So we will get in contact with the person for this question. And I think that we don't have other questions. So I just want to remind you that we have a last episode about animations next week. We will cover animation at large and with some tips and tricks as well. And if you have any questions, please send me an email and I will be happy to answer. Thank you again, Enzo, and thank you again to all of you for being with us today. Thank you very much, and see you soon, I hope.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.